Saving our cities the Trump way. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, the night before the election, the Trump motto, no American city left behind.
We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C. We'll get rid of all the graffiti on those beautiful marble columns, and we'll clean it. And it'll be properly run, and we'll stop the death and shootings and muggings and everything. We'll make it a great capital, beautiful capital again.
Yeah, homeless encampments, teen mobs, wilding across the city, drug use in public. And now another brutal attack, this time on someone who worked in the Trump administration. A former DOJ staffer named Edward Korestein, a.k.a. Big Balls, was savagely beaten by a pack of thugs just blocks from the Capitol. Now, this is not some bar fight. He and his significant other were being carjacked. It's a reminder that things are still very wrong in this city. And Trump, he's had enough.
Are you considering taking over the D.C. police? Is that an option on the table?
We're considering it, yeah, because the crime is ridiculous. We're going to do something about it. So whether you call it federalized or what, and that also includes the graffiti that you see, the papers all over the place, the roads that are in bad shape, the medians that are falling down, the median in between roads that's falling down. We're going to beautify the city. We're going to make it beautiful. And what a shame. The rate of crime, the rate of muggings, killings, and everything else, we're not going to let it. And that includes bringing in the National Guard.
Well, does he sound like he's bluffing? Back in March, Trump signed his Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful Again executive order, laying the groundwork for what is now a national model for reclaiming our cities. Because let's be honest here, D.C. in many ways has become a disgrace. In 2023, D.C. had a homicide rate of 40 per 100,000 residents. It was the fifth worst of the 60 largest U.S. cities. And although in 2024 the murder rate dropped to 27.3 per 100,000, D.C. is still number 4 on the national homicide rankings list. And look, if the left got its way and D.C. became a state, it would have the highest homicide rate of any state in America, according to the CDC. So how did this get this bad? Well, here's how. Weak enforcement, radical prosecutors, and a city government that cared more about woke virtue signaling than actually enforcing the rule of law. Now, of course, the D.C. Attorney General, Brian Schwab, insists punishment isn't really the answer.
We as a city and a community need to be much more focused on prevention and surrounding young people and their families with resources if we want to be safer in the long run. We cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it.
Yeah, well, it sounds like midnight basketball. Tell it to the city residents who are the victims of these crimes. And yes, property crimes are still crimes. Like the 12-year-old car thief, remember him, linked to 10 different car thefts, who kept getting arrested and released because, well, he's a minor.
I'm as liberal as they come, but they need to lock him up at this point because they need to make an example out of him that he keeps thinking he can get away with this because there's no consequences.
Yeah, well, the sick phenomenon is the result of horrible parenting, absentee fathers. But we can also blame ideological prosecutors and cowardly city councils. Because of them, we're seeing juveniles terrorize neighborhoods from D.C. to Dallas. And let's not forget the homeless tent cities scattered across urban landscapes, including D.C., and the hideous pro-Palestinian encampments that ruin the front of the iconic Union Station. That shouldn't be allowed. So is this really what Americans want the world to see as they enter the Capitol? Many politicians, of course, when they see all this, right, they hear about it, they just want to look the other way. But not Trump. He is not giving up on urban America. I love this, especially on our capital city. He knows that we can all make these cities great again. And believe it or not, he's found some common ground. Even Mayor Muriel Bowser has been working with the administration through the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, formed after that executive order I mentioned earlier. And this is not complicated stuff, but it took Trump to help get it done. They're ramping up arrests of illegals. They're increasing transit enforcement. They're cleaning up parks and monuments. And yes, homeless encampments. And the results? They're generally positive. Assaults with dangerous weapon are down 19% this year. Robberies down 39%. Homicides down, but still 98 dead so far. Now, that includes, by the way, a congressional intern killed by a stray bullet and a 1-year-old girl hit by 2 bullets meant for someone else. Lovely. But here's the point. Trump is showing a way forward. He's showing that cities can and should be saved, not abandoned. Any conservative who says abandon the city, let them all, collapse. No, that's not the answer. Reagan didn't think that, neither does Trump. If local leaders, though, do not act, then yes, federal leverage may be the only solution. Trump knows that. Because what did Karen Bass do when the ICE riots tore through L.A.? Well, she sided with the rioters and resisted Trump.
If immigration raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on last night.
They need to leave, and they need to leave right now.
Yeah, not the criminals, but ICE needs to leave. Or the National Guard needs to leave. Oh, that just got us more chaos, of course. But working with Trump, like Bowser's doing, is the right move. Fighting him, it just puts more lives at risk. We are not going to allow our great cities, places of history, faith, culture, and community to be destroyed by mobs, by mismanagement, and bad ideology. The president is offering a way forward. So if you're a mayor or you're a governor and you're still resisting this, maybe it's time you stop fighting the solution and start fighting the real problem, rampant lawlessness. And that's the angle.
It's never too early to start thinking about Christmas. 47 swung by the White House gift shop, and he had his eyes set on a big, beautiful ornament. Melania is already casting around for elves, and when the tree's erected, Santa Claus is going to spend bigly. Quote, I am proud to be the only president, with the possible exception of the late, great George Washington, to donate my salary. My first paycheck went to the White House Historical Association as we make much-needed renovations to the beautiful people's house. Now, are you more of a giver or a receiver? Trump likes it both ways, because hours later, we got something big in our stocking. Tim Cook showed up with the biggest check of the season.
Today, Apple is announcing that it will invest $600 billion, that's with a B, in the United States over the next 4 years. There's never been anything like it. Even you, that's even a lot of money for you. These investments will directly create more than 20,000 brand new American jobs.
Apple says they have a new home, the Bluegrass State.
For the first time ever, every single new iPhone and every single new Apple Watch sold anywhere in the world will contain cover glass made in Kentucky.
It'll be the largest smart glass assembly line in the world. And Apple's breaking ground on new AI factories in Houston and investing big money in North Carolina, Iowa, and Oregon. The Apple CEO also announced that the company will only be buying rare earth magnets from America, not China.
We're going to keep hiring in America, and we're going to keep building technologies at the heart of our products right here in America, because we're a proud American company, and we believe deeply in the promise of this great nation.
The Pentagon said it couldn't be done. Apple had to use cheap foreign labor. They were wrong. They said these billion-dollar pledges were just announcements to curry favor with Trump. They were wrong. They've been wrong about everything.
I watched this group of people on CNN and MSDNC, too, the same thing, where they say, well, costs have gone up. Costs haven't gone up. They've gone down. I'm telling you, the thing that's gone up is stock prices and success of our country.
Now for a much harder deal, Russia.
We had some very good talks with President Putin today. There's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
The president's expected to meet one-on-one with Putin. That means it's not just a talk. If everything goes right, a meeting like that usually means a treaty.
If there's going to be a deal to end this war, it'll have to require the president to come in at the end and close on it, as I've seen him do numerous times.
If he can end the Ukraine war after what he's done in the Middle East and elsewhere, he's a lock for the Nobel Peace Prize. And once he gets it, we can invade Greenland. What are they going to do? Take it away? Whoever inherits the White House in 28 should be very grateful. And who would that be?
Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is J.D. Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with J.D. in some form.
New polls say Vance would beat out any Democrat. The Raging Cajun says, not so fast.
I have never seen a political party at a point in my entire life in politics, which is like 50 years, that has more talent than the current Democratic Party has. I'm talking about sheer, raw, naked political communication skill. I have never seen better than I see right now, waiting in the wings to run for president.
Who the is Cajun talking about? Their top 4 contenders are Kamala, Mayor Pete, Greasy Gav, AOC, and Liz Warren.
So I watched this lunatic, Pocahontas. She's a total lunatic. I don't know what she's on. She's all jumping up and down like I've never seen anything like it, talking about supporting the communist mayor. And he's not a socialist. He's a communist.
The whole party's on the lam. JB Back Ribs is harboring Democrat refugees from Texas who are terrified they're going to get gerrymandered out of power. Even canceled Colbert's not buying it.
Look at 17 here. It does that. Then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here and then goes right over there like that. And look at this one, kind of goes whoop up there. It's like the stinger on a scorpion down here. Is this common for all states to do?
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
While Trump goes Christmas shopping for America, Democrats are showing up to dinner empty-handed. The Teamsters say they're sick of it. They ghosted the working man.
Let's talk about Bernie Sanders for a second, because He
doesn't talk to me anymore.
Why?
I don't know.
When did he stop talking to you?
Right after I spoke at the RNC. I think he looks at it as a betrayal of not endorsing the Democratic Party. He's never said that, but his whole attitude and access has completely changed towards us.
The Teamsters are like, Bernie, you're breaking up with me? You haven't been home in 6 years. At least Trump takes me down to dinner and remembers my birthday. And you know what? He makes me feel like a real woman. Democrats used to be the party of the worker. They sold them out to be the party of nose-ring PhDs. Can you believe there wasn't a single Democrat who wanted to stand next to Trump and Tim Cook and clap their hands that Apple was bringing manufacturing jobs back? The Teamsters say they've been taken for granted.
There was an event that one of our vice presidents, Joan Corey, she's out of my local. She went to, I don't know if it was an Emily's List event the day before our general executive board, and Vice President Harris was there. And so they do a photo op line. So Joan goes in the line and Joan says, I'm Joan Corey, I'm a vice president with the Teamsters Union. And she pointed her finger at Joan and said, Teamsters better get on board. And so Joan says, excuse me? Yeah, Teamsters better get on board. I don't know why you haven't endorsed me yet. So she comes back and she tells me this, and I'm like, the nerve.
The nerve. Democrats are the party that expect something for nothing. With an attitude like that, they're not getting invited to Christmas dinner anymore. We like guests that bring something to the table, like investments, peace deals, a great quote for renovations. That makes someone a good partner. Also, it helps if they can putt.
Let's go! Oh, he has it on video, too.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, it is the one-year anniversary of what is probably the single worst running mate selection in American history. Just to remind you.
Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric. But being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China.
I'm running for vice president. I'm a knucklehead. Well, he isn't just a knucklehead. He's extreme, he's radical, he's erratic, and he might be one of the worst governors in the country. Coming up, Tommy Lahren will help us mark this pathetic anniversary, plus major concerns surrounding a deadly new virus out of China. Here's the big question, though. Are we being lied to yet again by the communist Chinese? Can you trust what they are telling the world? Also, President Trump is now threatening to federalize Washington, D.C. after a former DOJ employee was beaten on the streets by a violent mob of criminals. But we begin with a very serious warning. The Democratic Party is going from bad to worse. A transformation is now underway. And extremism is taking root right before your very eyes. And understand this, while most of you will likely dismiss this, in the era of Trump, this is something that can never, ever happen in America. I'm telling you, you could not be any more wrong. History has proven again and again, radicalism, socialism, statism, whatever ism we want to put on it, it can rise to power in ways you don't even imagine just a few years before. Yes, they can be voted into power. You know, Reagan was not wrong in his understanding that freedom is but one generation away from extinction. Now, it may seem far-fetched today, again, in the era of Trump, but pay close attention. Now, tonight, instead of just hearing from me, we're going to let you hear from Democrats in their own words. And we begin with someone who is billed as a moderate from Michigan. That's Senator Elise Slotkin, who is now heaping praise on Zoran Marxist Mamdani. Wow, some moderate. Take a look.
The economy and a new generation of leadership, to me, are keys to bringing that next generation into politics.
Is that why you think Mamdani in New York had so much success? It wasn't necessarily his progressiveness, it was his age?
Yeah, I've said very openly that I never would be called an expert on New York City politics, but the two messages were like a blinking red light. How can you miss them? People are still extremely focused on the cost of living and how they can't get ahead. Still the motivating issue. And then number two, they want that new generation of leadership.
That's the new generation of leadership, radical Marxism, rooted in anti-Semitism, anti-capitalism, anti-American exceptionalism, is now sweeping the Democratic Socialist Radical Party. Democrats like Slotkin are either too cowardly to stand up against it, or they are actually true believers in the values of Marxism, socialism, statism. Now, New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Marxist Mamdani would have been laughed out of the Democratic Party just a few short years ago. Now, here he is in every way a true believer of full-blown Karl Marx socialism, to each according to their need, from each according to their ability. And by the way, if you're white, you pay more taxes, but don't take my word for it. Again, we report, you decide.
Socialism. Terrifying word. A lot of people are afraid of the word socialism, and a lot of people have misconceptions about what it means. I'm a democratic socialist, and what socialism means to me is a commitment to dignity, a state that provides whatever is necessary for its people to live a dignified life.
But I sincerely believe in this political project. I sincerely believe in socialism. And knowing what it is that brought you here, right? For me, it was Palestine that brought me into this movement.
So-called mainstream Democrats now endorsing, now supporting, now praising Mamdani. And his ultimate goal is for the government to seize the means of production. In other words, he wants the government takeover of every business by force. Government-run grocery stores. I'm sure that'll be just as good as government-run schools. He also wants the government to seize private property. He doesn't believe in billionaires. He wants to place New Yorkers in communes. Very nice, comrade. Anyway, he is a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America, or the DSA. And here are just a few of the goals from Mamdani's comrades in the DSA. Take a look.
You also talk about, in addition to abolition of family policing, you argue for abolition of the family in general. And say that the institution of the family acts as part of the carceral system in the way that it reinforces children as property.
I'm also a Baptist minister, whole other story, and on that revolutionary horizon, want to perform abortions in a church, but before it's all said and done.
My feelings on marriage is echoed in the quote by Thomas Sankara, who was sort of the leader of Burkina Faso's revolution against the French, that the only real difference between marriage and prostitution is the price and the duration of the contract.
Why are they all afraid to show their faces? Abortion in churches, abolishing families, and let's not forget free gender reassignment surgeries for everyone in America, and they'll give you free transportation and a hotel generously paid for by the taxpayers of New York City under Mamdani. Of course, take a look.
most importantly is we collaborated with the Zohran Mamdani campaign on his trans rights platform. And what we explicitly wanted to do was use the power of New York City to provide free gender-affirming care, and I say free in case insurance companies decide to boot us off, free gender-affirming care, not just to people in New York City, but across the country. And it's funny because I'm like, Zohran is literally attempting to do what conservatives say, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free, and we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms, and we're going to do all of the Fox News stuff.
All right, a bit crazy, but not according to Slotkin, who's supposed to be a, quote, moderate Democrat or any other major elected Democrat. Now, you would, kind of be hard-pressed to find anyone on the left openly criticizing their radical socialist base. They know this is now the majority view of their base, of their party, of the most outspoken voices. That's why Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, they are leaders in name only. They're not real leaders. They won't take on their base. And let's be very clear, Marxist Mamdani is not an anomaly. Understand this. He's the heart and soul of the party, along with Jasmine Crockett, AOC, the Squad, Grandpa Bernie, Pocahontas. In Minneapolis, there's a fellow socialist named Omar Fatah, and he's now backed by the Democratic Party in his run for mayor against an incumbent Democrat. In addition to backing the key tenets of Marxism, Omar Fatah has also vowed to block ICE from deporting illegal immigrants, and like Mamdani, Fatah plans to stop sending a police response to a variety of 911 calls. This is genius. Take a look.
Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE, whether it's for an immigration raid or not. Our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers.
Oh, send a social worker in. Domestic dispute. Send a social worker in. Man wants to kill people. And it gets worse. In Minneapolis, Omar Fatah angrily declared that the greatest threat to the U.S. are white Americans. Sounds like Mamdani. Take a look.
We heard them being called terrorists. We heard them being called drug dealers. We heard a lot of insults. We heard that they're a threat to our national security. And that's a flat-out lie. You want to know who the real threat is, Madam President? I'll give you a hint. They don't look like our chief author. They don't look like the folks up in the gallery. According to DHS, Madam President, the greatest domestic threat facing the United States comes from, quote, racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race. Not our immigrants.
The Democratic Party in Minneapolis is supporting him over an incumbent Democratic mayor. And kind of like Mamdani, he wants to have higher taxes for white neighborhoods. Now, keep in mind, this is a mayoral candidate for a huge American city, just like New York City, home to many major corporations. And yet, take a look at your screen. He refers to the country of Somalia as his home. We saw the same sentiment recently from a Democratic Congresswoman, Delia Ramirez, who apparently values her home country of Guatemala more than the country she was elected to represent. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Mark Warner, Mark Kelly, Hakeem Jeffries. This is your Democratic Party. All of you are completely powerless, gutless, and will never dare challenge it. This is now a party obsessed with socialism, Marxism, anti-Semitism, woke, gender theory, critical race theory, defund, dismantle, no bail laws. Is there anyone outside of little old John Fetterman in Pennsylvania with the courage to occasionally stand up and say, no, this is not the party I grew up in? Or is the Democratic Party too far gone? Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.